Okay. It's mid-November as I record this, and we are coming into planner season, i.e., I bet you are out there at Target or at Walmart finding all the planners that you're going to use in the next year. And you're going to promise yourself that you're going to be more productive and you're going to create all these systems to get everything done. And, this is going to be the year that you meet all of your goals, right? And I think that's great. I'm not here to poop on that planner party whatsoever, but I am here to share a few nuggets about living a more productive life because that is, I think, the thing that comes up for most of my clients when they come to me. I typically coach women with ADHD or ADHD like tendencies. So, very fast brains, very driven, want to do all the things, but they don't feel like they are doing all the things. So they come to me saying that they want to be more productive. And case in point, when I first opened Distraction to Action, which is going to be available again in January, by the way, so I'll link to more of that below. But when I opened Distraction to Action, I asked folks what it is they were searching for. And this is some of the language they used: how to focus and finish things, how to start organizing chaos, how to live a more productive life, how to have a system to keep track of everything, how to complete tasks and manage overwhelm. Those are just a few of the responses I got when I first started surveying my audience for the program that I developed. And it's the same thing with all of my clients. They're always looking for that system that's going to make them more productive. And today I want to bust a few myths about productivity and really give you a mindset that's going to work for you as we move into the new year and just for the rest of your life in general, y'all, because I feel your struggle. I know what you're going through. I go through it too. Clearly, all of my clients do as well. And I feel like we could all use a little normalization around this idea of not being productive enough. So, when it comes to how to be more productive or live a more productive life, the first question I would ask you is, what does that actually look like for you? How would you know if you were being productive? I've talked about this in previous videos. Both myself and a lot of my clients are so rarely present enough in the moment that at the end of the day, they don't have a really clear idea of how much they've accomplished in a day because they're not paying attention to it in the moment. So we walk around with this belief that we're not being productive enough, but we might actually be doing more than the average person. Or we're doing a ton of stuff, but there's one thing that we're procrastinating on. So that somehow negates all of the things that we are doing. And ergo, we call ourselves unproductive. So I think it's really important to understand that the idea of living a productive life is very squishy. And you probably are living productively in a lot of areas of your life, but you're disregarding it because perhaps there's other areas of your life where you would like to be more productive. The other thing I would say here is that productivity is not a measure of how much you've done against somebody else. Somebody else may be further on in their career, but may have no friends. Somebody else may have a ton of friends, but their health is failing them. So there's a lot of ways that we can look at the people around us and see how we're falling short and call that a lack of productivity because we're not as advanced as they are in certain areas. But the thing is, every single individual prioritizes different things. So when you think about the things that you have actually moved forward and accomplished in your life, those are probably the things that are important to you versus what somebody else has done. One other thing I would point out here is that when I ask my clients what does productivity look like to them and how would they know if they're being more productive, the most common answer I get is I would have everything off my to-do list. I wouldn't be carrying things forward. So let's be real for a second. Has there ever been a time where your to-do list had a finite end to it? And if there has been, and you've actually done it, have you ever stopped to say, okay, I'm going to close my little to-do book here and go off and congratulate myself on a productive day? Or have you just added more to-dos to that list because you had a little bit more time that you could do more stuff in? So the day where you stop having ideas as a human being might be the day where you'll no longer put things on your to-do list, but I don't know that I would ever want that day to happen. So the next thing I would point out in terms of living more productively is knowing what's actually important to you so that you can put your time, energy, and resources in the service and pursuit of that thing. Because very often we do a lot of different things throughout the day. Some of it's important, some of it's mandatory, and a lot of it's just kind of crap, like scrolling Instagram. Let me ask you this. If you are actually dedicating 10% of your waking hours every day pursuing what is most important to you, how much more productive do you think that you would see yourself as being? How much more productive would you feel if you were able to give 30% to what was most important to you? Even if that other 70% of your waking hours was dedicated to things that just had to get done because they're your responsibility, if you could just carve out 30% of your waking hours to dedicate to being productive and advancing the things that are important to you, I think you would probably feel like a more productive person. To that end, number three is knowing what's not important. Hello, Instagram. Karen, I'm talking to you right now. As a society and a culture, we are so bombarded with distractions and options and choices and things that we can be putting our attention towards. When I say attention, I mean time, money, resources, headspace. We have so much that we can dedicate to. So when we're not clear on what's not important, like what somebody else is driving or what somebody else is wearing, we can end up putting a lot of our time, tension, and resources towards those things because they're in front of us and they capture our attention, but they're not important. So when you get super clear on what's not important, you give yourself the best chance you possibly can to be more productive in the areas that are important or that require your attention rather than the extraneous noise that we're dealing with on the daily. Number four is something I think we overlook a lot, but if we could master it, it would make the biggest difference of all. Coming back to this idea of the perpetual to-do list, if you can get really clear on how long things actually take for you to do in a day, you would be leaps and bounds ahead of anybody else in terms of productivity because you would be clear on what is actually possible to do in a day. I think a lot of our beliefs around productivity are that more is better. So we try to do more, but the reality is that time is not infinite, neither is our energy and resources. So we try to cram in a lot of stuff, but we can't because we're human. And as a result, we end up focusing on the things that we weren't able to do that were not realistic in the first place, as opposed to really focusing on everything that we did get done. So if we can get ahead of that habit, by being super intentional about what we put on our to-do list in a day, knowing exactly how much time something's going to take, then you can make your day so much more productive because you're being realistic with them. And at the end of the day, I think being realistic about what you can potentially do in a day is going to serve you a lot better than magical thinking. Just saying. And then the last point I'll make about living a more productive life is that it's not what we're here for. As a human being, and I'm assuming you are if you're sitting here watching this video right now, we are put on this earth for some reason, and I don't know what that reason is, but it's not to pay bills and to check things off a to-do list. I don't know if there's ever been a time in human existence that we have been more focused on accomplishing things and getting things done than we are in this knowledge era. In the past centuries, humans have focused on proliferation of the species and feeding ourselves and keeping a roof over our heads. And that has been the primary driver of the tasks that we do in a day. Since most privileged countries have those bare necessities taken care of, we're now so focused on doing a bunch of extraneous things that may or may not make a difference in our life in the long run anyway. So I urge you to spend some time thinking about you when you're old and gray and you're lying on your deathbed. Are you contemplating all of the things that you got done in your life? Are you contemplating the experiences you had and the people you loved and the impact that you made as a human being on this earth? So much like you, I am a sucker for a good daily planner. I love to-do lists and calendaring things out, but I have to remind myself again and again that that is not the purpose of my existence. Anything I put down on my calendar has to actually add to my life or add to the lives of the people or critters that live with me and around me. Because if I'm not creating an impact, then there's not a to-do in the world that makes that much of a difference. So those are my thoughts on living more productively. Get clear on what productivity looks like. How will you know when you're being more productive? Get clear on what's important to you and what's not important to you. Build your time awareness muscle and only give yourself tasks that you know you can actually do in a day. And finally, accept that you are a mere mortal just like me and that we are not here to check boxes. I hope that gave you some good food for thought. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next video.